Have you ever met someone who can turn a 2-minute conversation into 20? You ask a simple question, and somehow you're still listening long after you forgot what you originally asked. They jump from one story to another, interrupt themselves, overshare personal details, and barely leave room for anyone else to speak. Most people assume they're just attention seekers or naturally extroverted, but psychology suggests something much more interesting. Talking too much isn't always about loving your own voice. Sometimes it's a window into how the mind tries to cope, connect, and even protect itself. One of the biggest misconceptions is that people who talk constantly are always confident. In reality, excessive talking can come from completely opposite places. Some people speak a lot because they genuinely enjoy social interaction. Others do it because silence makes them uncomfortable. When conversations become quiet, their brain immediately feels the need to fill the empty space. That silence can create anxiety, uncertainty, or the fear that something is wrong. So they keep talking, not necessarily because they have something important to say, but because talking feels safer than silence. Our brains naturally dislike uncertainty. During a conversation, silence leaves room for interpretation. Are they judging me? Did I say something wrong? Are they bored? For some people, continuing to talk reduces that uncertainty. As long as they're speaking, they feel more in control of the interaction. Ironically, the habit that makes them feel comfortable can sometimes overwhelm the people they're trying to connect with. Another reason people talk excessively is excitement. Some minds process ideas so quickly that the mouth struggles to keep up. One thought triggers another, then another, until the conversation becomes a chain of connected ideas. They aren't trying to dominate the discussion, they're simply sharing everything their brain is producing in real time. This is especially common when someone is discussing a topic they genuinely love. Their enthusiasm becomes difficult to contain. Talking can also become a way of seeking connection. Human beings want to feel understood, accepted, and valued. For some people, sharing stories, experiences, and opinions feels like building emotional closeness. The more they reveal about themselves, the more connected they expect to feel. But real connection isn't built only through speaking, it's built through listening as well. When someone talks without creating space for others, they may unintentionally prevent the very closeness they're trying to create. There's another pattern that's easy to miss. Some people explain every tiny detail because they desperately want to avoid being misunderstood. They don't just answer your question, they explain the background, the context, the reason, and every possible misunderstanding before it even happens. Their goal isn't to waste your time. Their brain simply believes that more information means fewer misunderstandings. Stress can also play a surprising role. During anxiety or emotional excitement, the brain becomes more active. Thoughts arrive faster, emotions become stronger, and self-monitoring becomes weaker. As a result, people may speak more than usual without even realizing it. Later, they replay the conversation in their head and wonder, why did I say all of that? The excessive talking wasn't planned. It was a byproduct of an overstimulated mind. Interestingly, people who talk a lot are often very different from people who truly dominate conversations. Someone who constantly interrupts, dismisses others, or always redirects attention back to themselves may be seeking control or validation, but someone who simply talks a lot may actually care deeply about the conversation. They just haven't learned to notice how much space they're occupying. From the outside, those behaviors look similar, but psychologically they can come from completely different motivations. One of the strongest habits behind excessive talking is the reward system in the brain. Every smile, laugh, nod, or positive reaction acts like a small reward. Over time, the brain learns that talking brings attention, acceptance, and social feedback. Without realizing it, talking becomes a habit reinforced over hundreds of conversations. That's why many people don't even notice they're doing it. Their brain has learned that talking equals connection. The good news is that this isn't a fixed personality trait. People can become better listeners once they become aware of the pattern. Some of the strongest communicators in the world aren't the ones who speak the most. They're the ones who know exactly when to speak and when to pause. They understand that silence isn't always awkward. Sometimes it's where the most meaningful conversations begin. So the next time you meet someone who talks a little too much, try not to assume they're simply self-centered. They might be excited, they might be anxious, they might be trying to connect, or they might simply have a brain that processes ideas faster than they can organize them into conversation. Understanding the reason behind the behavior doesn't mean ignoring its impact, but it does help us see people with a little more empathy. And now, I'm curious, when you're in a conversation, are you usually the one doing most of the talking or the one doing most of the listening? Let me know in the comments.